welcome to season 3 of Behind the Screen, even. We are doing Chronicles of Darkness next. I've just been. Scion's great. I love Scion. You probably, hopefully, picked up on that passion. But Chronicles of Darkness was the first role playing game rulebook I bought, and I just love horror role playing so much. So hopefully, we can create something cool. It'll be an introductory adventure, much like the Scion one for season 2. And first decision that we're making together as a Twitch community, because I've been panicking about finishing Scion satisfactorily, that I haven't really had the mental capacity to devote to Chronicles of Darkness stuff. There's the Kickstarter for Hunter. So the first thing to decide, what flavor of Chronicles of Darkness? The core book, 2nd edition, has ghosts. You know, something there maybe. Urban horror, kind of like urban legends, general weirdness, kind of ties into the ghosts. God Machine, which is more weird and cosmic horror. And then the variety of the Chronicles of Darkness game lines that exist, like vampire, werewolf, mage, changeling, Promethean, mummy, demon. I think I'm missing one. I wouldn't really classify Hunter as relevant to this discussion. I might be missing one. I don't know. So that's basically the choices we've got. The first two are more kind of dark urban horror. As I say, God Machine is the weird cosmic horror side of things. And then the other game lines making themselves known, it kind of depends on the game line. I'm not too confident on mage stuff, but I'm reasonably confident with werewolf, vampire, changeling, and Promethean. I have demon somewhere, I believe, or at least the PDF preview text to help with that kind of thing. But what are people feeling while I hydrate for the first time in about an hour? So I've had that cup of tea for an hour and it is still warm. That is how hot it was when I made it. Also, it's very lemony. Okay, so I'm personally leaning towards just urban horror. Like, make an urban legend up and go crazy with that. So, I'm going to call it the Radford House. That is a house that I use when I need a haunted house, basically. Bear with me while I update something. Put that roughly centrally. That looks about right. Oh, it would be right, but it's on a crease. Whoops. There we go. That's readable, right? It looks okay. It's the best I can do right now. So, the Radford House. Again, themes, mood, and outline. Heading. So it's going to follow roughly the same thing as the Scion one did because it's an introductory thing again. So it'll have the low stakes, the freedom, the climax, which will be whatever comes out of this. Sorry. So let's have some themes, shall we? Right, actually, no. Some of you might not know what I'm talking about. So, Chronicles of Darkness, modern urban horror, dark fantasy, call it what you will, role playing. It's our world through a mirror darkly. It's right now. I've got to get this right. It's a White Wolf license published by Onyx Path, I believe. I'm sure someone will correct me if that is incorrect. Uses the Storyteller system, so unlike Scion, which uses the Story Path system, it has more of a pedigree, I guess. It's an evolution and continuation of the classic World of Darkness games, in which you play mortals. That is correct. Excellent, man. That graphic is incredible, but the licensing situation is weird. The classic so-called blue book, because it has a blue cover, as I say, was the first rulebook I bought, and then when it got updated to second edition with with Chronicles of Darkness, it was kind of packaged with a default setting called the God Machine Chronicle. So I guess a bit of background. It used to be called World of Darkness, but New World of Darkness as opposed to Old World of Darkness or Classic World of Darkness. So I may say N-word occasionally, and I mean Chronicles of Darkness, so I apologize for that. And kind of towards the end of first edition, the God Machine Chronicle came out, as did Blood and Smoke for Vampire the Requiem. And then when the second editions came out, God Machine was just included in the core book, and Blood and Smoke was in the core book for Vampire the Requiem. If you do like the sound of any of these, by the way, you don't need the blue book. Obviously, buy it. It's great. It supports the company. But the core rules are in every rule book, which is great. So what is the God Machine Chronicle? The God Machine Chronicle is default setting, or an offered default setting, wherein there is a God Machine which runs the world, the universe. Who knows? No one really knows much about it. It's kind of vague and undefined, and that works in our favor. I will say, God Machine is the assumed setting for Demon the Descent, in which you play fallen angels, but not biblical angels. Angels are agents of the God Machine, and it's cool idea, cool concept. I would love to play it, like many games. So God Machine is the assumed setting for Demon, but you don't have to tangle with God Machine stuff. It can be a bit weird, as I say, it's the weird and cosmic horror side of the Chronicles of Darkness. The core book, which I really should open. I should close all of my Scion PDFs and pull up the core book so I can reference that. Here's where I would turn to the bookshelf behind me, but I don't have it in hard copy. I only have the PDF, which is fine. That is the wrong folder. Changeling, why are you not in the Chronicles of Darkness folder? There we go. Oh, I just need to download Dark Heroes 1, so I've got it all in one place rather than having it spread across 2 hard drives. Yes, so I really need to reread this rulebook. But the God Machine Chronicle also has like an adventure in it and stuff. It's like the last half of the rulebook is adventure and setting information, so it's really cool. Highly recommend checking it out if you like modern horror role playing. But as I say, for this, let's go with urban horror. Let's make an urban legend up about a house. Where it says Radford House, that is entirely subject to change if we come up with a better idea, or as is more likely, I'll be typing along, talking to myself, filling it there as I do. And someone in chat will post something really cool, and I'll be like, that's way better than anything I've thought of. I'm using it. And then it will change the game. So for now, it'll say the Radford House, but it could be the Radford Estate. It could be anything else. Now I think about it, let's have the Radford Estate. Let's go from the haunted house to the haunted estate, because no one ever does the haunted estate. It's always the house. Where is my haunted folly and reflecting pool? With a Rusalka in it. Anyway, themes and mood. So if it's an estate, that's automatically, to me at least, conjuring images of decay, decadence, extravagance. So maybe for a mood, themes and moods. Right. I don't know if they still do this in the rulebooks. They probably do. Right. That's something that Dust, very good point. So that is theme. So themes are the way I use them anyway. Obviously, a lot of these things have different meanings to different people. Themes are the things you're exploring through play. So dust will be like age, neglect, that kind of thing. And then the mood is usually a 2-part scale of some kind of conflict. So extravagance, which is, spending money, bright, gold, parties, versus decay, which is dark, rotten, decrepit, that kind of thing. I also just treat theme as a mood board for directing my thought processes. There we go. Sorry, I was just scanning through the rulebook to see if there was a theme and mood page anymore, but I can't see one right off the bat. So maybe it's not included. Maybe I'm just not looking in the right place. I could just Control F. So that's what that is. So I that's not in any way, shape, or form the word theme. So I generally go with 3. I work in 3s, you may have noticed. Right, the rulebook has a thing about body parts. That was the storytelling chapter. Anyway, so let's go for 3 themes. So we've got dust, and just so I don't forget, neglect, age. Because the themes are also things that we can explore and elaborate upon in the urban legend, as it is kind of going to be the front and center part of the adventure. So while related, I don't want 3 things that are essentially the same thing. So I don't want something else that is about age or neglect. Renewal, maybe. See how I feel about that a couple of weeks down the line. And I mean, hopelessness and despair, that kind of thing goes without saying in the Chronicles of Darkness. It's not really something you need to call attention to. Again, these are available for change. But anyway, so outline, we have an introductory scene. And then we'll have the introductory scene separate to the low stakes scene here. Freedom. Climax. So let's just do this. All right, I've also learned my lesson. I think some of the problem I was having with the last document was because it was doing that thing where you highlight the individual lines as well to be the heading, and then it was just messing up the formatting. Anyway, so introductory scene introduces the characters. Bell. So for context, Beelzebub in chat is someone from my Twitch community. Don't get me started, Bell. Just don't. It's not worth it. Alternatively, do what you want. I can't stop you doing anything, obviously. It introduces the world/lore. Formatting is important, as I'm pretty sure at least one other person in the chat will confirm. It's very important to get your formatting right first time around. It makes the whole thing easier. Foreshadows what is to come. Low stakes scene. See? I'm not alone. Formatting and inventory management are 2 important things. Fact of life. Them's the rules. I didn't write them. Climax scene obviously is going to be dealing with the urban legend. There we go. Freedom will be researching the urban legend, and the more I write this, the more I'm like, hey, this is the vampire adventure I wrote yesterday. God damn it. So the low stakes scene. I know you're not saying it's not important. I don't like the emphasis that I read in those words. Sorry, I'm in a weird mood today. I do apologize. This will be introduce the urban legend. Legends. Introduce the urban legend. Add some drama into the characters' lives. There is an apostrophe missing there. Researching the urban legend. The drama comes with a twist. Dealing with the urban legend. Fallout of having characters' eyes being opened. The sun is out. It's not windy. It's not raining. So if you didn't know, Britain's had a lot of storms recently, especially around where both Beelzebub and I live. It's nice to not hear the sound of rain on a flat roof for once. I'll be honest. Is there anything else I want here? This would be like one scene. I'm going to put 1 to 3 scenes here. Can't rain all the time, except in my heart. I actually like the rain. It was the wind that was a problem because it's just so windy. So kind of going on having been running role-playing games for a while, my preferred method for treating kind of like story arcs, or for, let's say, leveling up in games that have that kind of baked-in leveling mechanic. Storyteller system doesn't. I'll explain that in a moment. Is like I'm saying one scene, but that scene could be a variable length of time. That scene could be the length of a chapter. Yeah, but note on terms. So, scene is exactly what it sounds like. It's a short section of narrative time that can last any length of time between one or more characters in usually like a specific location or dealing with a specific thing. Chapter is the story. God, and me. Chapter is a game session. There we go. I got it out in the end. Story is the overall campaign. And then the chapters can be split into acts, or if you prefer to think of it in terms of TV stuff, seasons being, discrete sections in the storyline. So much as with Scion, this isn't intended to be played in one go. One chapter. This would may probably end up being 2 or 3 chapters of gameplay. Depending entirely on speed at which you do it, what you add, what you changed, that kind of thing. My general kind of rule of thumb is that for player progression in games that have an easy experience mechanic, I'm just going to say D&D. In games like D&D, you're looking like 4 to 6 sessions per level for a feeling of not artificial accelerated progression. Experience in Chronicles of Darkness is different to that. You get beats for resolving conditions, just playing the game. You can be awarded beats for good role-playing and a variety of other things. When you've got 5 beats, you get an experience, and then you spend the experience each. So much like Scion, it's rated it uses a dice pool system. Each skill and attribute has a dot rating. There are merits, which are kind of like a way of customizing your character with things like allies or staff, or let's go for some more interesting ones: striking looks, or having a library, that kind of thing, and being ambidextrous or unusually tall, etc. They all cost experience to increase. They're usually rated in 1 to 5 dots, with each dot being a die you add to your pool, with the target number being... Where the hey is the experience cost? Dramatic systems, maybe? Nope. Target number being 8. The game uses a 10 again rule, with some things giving you 9 again and 8 again. I'm sure if I'm getting any of this wrong, someone will correct me. But target number is 8, so 8, 9, or 10, you get a success. If you get a 10, you roll the die again, because you might get another success until you start rolling 10s. Commonly called exploding dice, but in the parlance of the game, it's 10 again. Where is that experience cost table? Am I just losing my mind? Usually it's at character creation, but I don't see it. I just wanted to give examples of what I'm talking about. Where's the index? 66 to 76 to 77. There we go. So to elaborate on what I was saying earlier, beats. So 5 beats gives you an experience. Beats from your character fulfills an aspiration, which can have a variety of durations. Conditions, as I mentioned, can give you a couple of ways of getting beats. Anytime you fail a roll, you can choose to have a dramatic failure. So things go really badly, but you get a beat. Take damage in one of your 3 rightmost health boxes, you get a beat. End of any game session, take a beat. And anytime you risk a breaking point, which is... testing your morality, let's say. That gives you a beat as well. Now, one of the major differences... I'm going to put this here so I can see chat. One of the major differences between 2nd edition and 1st edition was the... well, 1st edition had a... let's say awkward conversion of experience to upgrade. And that each dot was not exponentially, but exponentially more costly than the previous dot. It was like new rating times 3 or whatever. This is a system that's still used in World of Darkness games, and so in Vampire Masquerade 5th edition, for example. In Chronicles of Darkness, it is way simpler. Each attribute dot is worth 4 experiences. Each merit and skill specialty is worth 1 experience, and each skill dot and integrity is worth 2 experiences. So if you want to gain a skill dot, you only need 10 beats. You don't need like 10 and then 30 and then 50 or whatever. It's just a lot easier. It's a lot less clunky. You did indeed get the beat. And it's just easier. It's a smoother experience. There is a common thing about it requiring more... I just checked to see if I was recording this, and thankfully I am. There's a common complaint about it adding more bookkeeping, but in actuality, it doesn't add really any extra bookkeeping. You're just keeping track of up to 5 and then converting that to 1. And then you've just got the decision of, do you want to save that 1 or do you want to buy a merit or a skill specialty? Skill specialties, unlike in Scion, add 1 die to the roll that they influence. So if you have, I believe firearms as a skill before I say it. Hang on, even better. If you're trying to punch something with brawl, stop skipping over brawl. There we go. If you're trying to punch something brawl, and you have the boxing specialty, that adds to the roll. That's all it is. It's really simple. Scions is very flavorful, but it's in a way easier to treat it in terms of it just adds one die to that roll rather than adds one enhancement to any related roll that doesn't involve the skill that the specialty is tied to. So anyway, so that's how specialties work and experiences and things. I believe in giving people an overview of the game, because if I'm going to be asking for input, it helps for people to know how the game works. And the whole point of this show is that there is input and dialogue between your fine selves and myself. So, we've got like 15, 20 minutes left. I would rather start the introductory scene with the characters already built. So, we need an urban legend. There we go. Let's get that extra space out of the way. Or extra return, I should say. Okay. Wendigo on the Radford estate. Okay, so let's also situate this in America, but again, let's have it in an out-of-the-way place. Small town. Insert state here. Is a former frontier town. I think mining's a bit overdone, actually. Let's go fishing. Whoops. Fishing town. On the banks of the made-up river. Let's call it the... Actually, you know what? Let's not make up a river. Let's tie this to real-world geography. But let's go for a smaller river, shall we? So I'm looking at the list of rivers of the United States, and I've got lists of newspapers. I don't know why. I don't want major rivers anyway. Let's go with a random letter. Let's go with M. Apparently there is a river called Mad River. Sorry. Apparently there are 7 rivers called Mad River. Okay, I just need to do some quick Googling. My knowledge of US geography isn't that great. Midwest, Texas, Great Plains, Rocky Mountains, Southwest, West Coast, and Hawaii. I don't think Hawaii. So this is going to be fun because I know nothing about any of these places. Let's just randomly pick Colorado. Are any of these rivers in Colorado? Would you believe? No. Oh, that was MA, sorry. Wow. Okay. Control F. Not Medicine Bow River. Which has a wonderfully useful map. let's not use that one. The Michigan River. Muddy Creek. How big is Muddy Creek? 60.5 miles long. Also got some big lakes. Huge onshore fishing is big, especially in the northeast, I think, like Lake Michigan. That is true. Also, hello, Gremlin. Gremlin is another member of my community. Thank you for supporting both myself and this. So Muddy Creek is a tributary of the Colorado. So that's pretty cool. It rises in a national forest west of Rabbit Ears Pass. I'm good with this, I think. On the banks of Muddy Creek. Okay, time. About 10-15 minutes. Okay. Former frontier turn fishing town on the banks of Muddy... Oh, right. Hyphens connect words. That's how they work. In case people weren't sure. On the banks of the Muddy Creek River. So... That wasn't what I wanted at all. That was what I wanted. Let's have some rough history for the town. Also, I guess I could just check the history of Colorado like an idiot. Don't need the geography. I need the history. History of Colorado. There we go. Spanish Empire claimed it as part of New Mexico. Free Territory of Colorado in 1861. That works for me. I'd say 1862. Obviously, this is going to be mangled urban history, but it should work for this anyway. And all place names can be replaced by your own place names if you need them to be, which will be like a note in the foreword. I'm just trying to provide the building blocks for other people to make adventures from. So it wouldn't really be in the frontier in 1862. Let's have farming turned fishing. Built in 1862. It took quickly attracted the attention. Several wealthy families from I need a place, big place. My brain is so bad right now. How old's Boulder? History of Boulder. Yeah, sure. Several wealthy families from Boulder, many of whom had links to the university. As a pleasant location to spend a few weeks every year. Am I just making a tourist town at this point? I think I might be. They very quickly invested money in the town in order to build a series of sprawling estates to lease out to rich travelers who were not in residence themselves. Radford Estate. Named for Professor of Engineering. Hang on, one sec. Just want to check a name. This window. So good. Sure, I'll click it. Are any of these quotes relevant? Not so much. Not really. Still nothing relevant. Thanks, Book of Genesis, for in the beginning. That's really concerning engineering. Although I guess that kind of was the first act of engineering. Amos Radford was the last of the estates to be finished. Large estate dominated by a dark stone mansion. It was unused. Fraught. That's not even a word, Google Documents. For the first 2 years of its existence, I guess. Until the professor returned from sabbatical. Okay, so how do we go from this to Wendigos, or Wendigo, or however you pronounce the word? Also, we need a time frame for the spirit of desolation and deprivation to have appeared in the town. Life was quiet and uneventful till the events of the Great War rocked the sleepy community, stole many of its sons. Those who returned preferred the quiet solitude of the waters, the hard labor of the fields, and the town's focus, along with the remaining academic investments, shifted towards marine life. 1 second, need a drink. Okay, so let's also say the Second World War almost rang the town's death knell, and many of... I was like, that word is spelt wrong. I'm just waiting for it to say it is before I change it. Many of the buildings remain neglected, if occupied, today. So then, kind of how it's currently... 1950s saw the complete withdrawal of academic support, financial support, sorry. in favor of more promising project further downriver. And drove the town, the Tuan, to become almost entirely dependent on tourism. To this end, they renovated all the estates long empty and neglected, decayed, save for the Radford estate. This remained inhabited, unilt, until the mid-70s. Oh, this remained. Whoops, my bad. What happened in the 70s? Let's just have a quick check of the timeline. What global events happened in the 70s? The Cold War, I mean, obviously. Vietnam. That's kind of a big deal, right? Vietnam War. 1955 to 1975, so it's the end of the Vietnam War. So that's a possibility. I was hoping it would fall. I mean, hoping. I was thinking that fell into the relevant time period. Anything else happened in the 70s? Munich massacre in 1972. Oof. Oil crisis. I'm not sure that would be as important here. Nixon resigns in 74 because of Watergate. Jim Jones in 78. Jonestown. Gonna skip over that. Any natural disasters in the relevant area? (1974) super outbreak. 148 tornadoes confirmed. None of them struck Colorado. Non-natural disasters. Yeah, this is the downside of content of writing stuff for like more grounded settings is the research. I love doing research, don't get me wrong, but I can only imagine how dull this is to watch, so I do apologize. I mean, I think the Vietnam War is kind of the easiest thing. There was a recession in the 70s. So maybe that. Maybe the recession combined with the Vietnam War led to, like, the end of the war led to a collapse in tourism for Georgeville. Deadly flash flood in Colorado in the 70s. I'm not doubting you. I'm just looking into it. Big Thompson flood of 76. (12 and 14 inches of rain over 4 hours. Eesh. Right, let's use this. So, this remained inhabited until the mid-70s. It was then that a combination of turning veterans from Vietnam, economic pressures due to a recession, and the humanitarian aid required to help those caught in the Thompson flood brought Georgeville to its knees. I'm aware of the time. Do not worry. You know what? We'll leave it there, I think. I'm kind of running on empty. I don't know if you can tell. I was panicking quite a bit to get the Scion thing finished. And that kind of took a lot of... It drained me quite a bit. So I get... we'll throw it up to the person in charge, actually. Do you want me to clear the channel, Travis? Or are we okay to at least finish this urban legend? I don't think it'll take too much longer. I'm going to keep writing while the delay happens. What remains now are a handful of shops. The good does nothing after you. Cool. I'll just finish this up then, and then wrap up. A handful of shops, a single school, and barely 1,000 inhabitants. The buildings of yesteryear do are still standing. Radford Estate among them. Oops. There we go. It is said, as all urban legends are, that if you enter the estate alone during the new moon, you will be privy to lost secrets, long forgotten by man and protected by a beast the likes of which you cannot see without going insane. Or, as the kids put it, you'll be scared to death. You'll be scared out of your mind. Scared out of your mind by whatever lives there. Does that work as an urban legend? Because I don't think of any extra details that need to be added. I think urban legends really work best if there's a history to them. And then I'm giving myself a lot of work already, tried to be like, hey, why should player characters get invested in this rather than just leave like sensible people? Anyway. I never changed this over. So you can cycle through these, but I guess it won't show me the leaderboard. There we go. Cool. Anyway, so, anyone think of any details that need adding right now? Again, this isn't the final product. When in 28 weeks time, geez, it took 28 weeks to do Scion. In however long it takes to finish this adventure, I will polish it up and maybe elaborate on bits and tweak it. But for now, does it make sense as an urban legend? basically the estate's haunted. Pretty simple as urban legends go, but having the history there helps. Gives me stuff to work with. Kind of leaning towards that the lost secrets long forgotten by man are just how to survive without food, and that you eat other people. But that's a bit on the nose, a bit too easy, and I'm sure I'll think of something better in the long run. But no one is saying anything about anything needed adding. I also realized that I defaulted to 100% again. I'm so sorry for those of you on mobile. Now there is text you can read. Right. Anyway, so YouTube, I appreciate this has been like a 50-minute episode, but the Scion thing came first, and this was just the time I had left. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope everyone's enjoying the introduction to the Chronicles of Darkness. I just really like modern urban horror, along with the associated research, and getting to the feeling of this could happen, sort of. But I hope you've all enjoyed it anyway. There are other shows on this channel beyond myself, as astonishing as that is to believe. I can always be reached on Twitter at Comrade Bubbles, and on Twitch at Comrade Bubbles, and also on the Onyx Path Discord server, where I think I've set my name to be Ryan, because that's my actual name. I think. But at the minute, I've been kind of posting in Scion a bit, answering rules questions whenever I feel able to. And now I'm going to haunt the Chronicles of Darkness one to see if I can... God damn it, Discord. See if I can help help out there. The easiest way to do it would be to... Oh no, Comrade Bubbles on the Discord, on the Onyx Path Discord as well. Cool. So... like, at me on Discord if you have any questions about anything and you're on the Onyx Path Discord. It's a great place to look for group and stuff. So, standard recap, really. It's going to follow broadly the same structure, as I said, as the Scion one. Feel free to ask questions about role-playing and running games at any point. More than happy to answer them. And as ever, the best place to keep up to date with Onyx Path news is the wait, I just copied the right link. That one. The best place to keep in touch with Onyx Path news is the Monday meeting notes. It'll give you all the lowdown on current Kickstarters coming up, project timelines, like relevant to this one. Contagion stuff, which I so wish I'd backed because it's such a cool idea. And there was a contagion update. Where is it? Ready-made characters and red lines, which is cool. Contagion Chronicle global outbreaks in development. Contagion being a like shared world campaign setting in a way. Player's Guide to the Contagion Chronicle, currently in the editing stage of the process, along with the Jumpstart adventure. So that's really cool. Also, if you're interested in non-horror role-playing, like fantasy's more your style, please do check out the Open Development Project, where there's Scarred Land stuff happening, which is cool. And totally support that, because it's a cool game line. As I say, so that's me done, really. I will pass it over to the post-roll, which is also the pre-roll, so you can see what other shows are on the channel. I'll be around in chat for a couple more minutes, though, before heading over to my own stream to do some stuff there. If you have any lingering questions, but generally, thank you for watching. Thank you for, posting in chat and whatnot. It really makes this whole thing worth it. The concept of the show wouldn't work without people in chat, so thank you for that. And I'm going to pass it over to the post-roll. So YouTube, thank you for watching. Have a good day, afternoon, morning, evening, whatever.